Hi, welcome to another episode of the Just in Time Web Show. I'm really excited to bring some guests to you today. That's Maureen Barnash and Laura Demerest, and they are with the Medical Foster Care Program. But first, I've got a couple of announcements I wanted to share with you. We have recently posted another great training video, and this again is in Spanish. It's part 2 of the impact of trauma. Also, we've posted an awesome document, and it is going to be located under our qpiflorida.com document section, and it was created by ChildNet, and it is 8 things foster parents wish every child advocate knew, and it's really geared towards them communicating with their case manager. And last but not least, we have posted some wonderful training modules created by the Department of Children and Families to serve our customers that are deaf and hard of hearing. So those are posted under our videos here at qpiflorida.com. We're going to post those links. So moving right along, I'd like to introduce Maureen and Laura. Welcome to our show.
Thank you.
So first of all, Medical Foster Care Program. Could you tell our audience, who are primarily foster parents but other caregivers, what is the Medical Foster Care Program and how is it different than, say, traditional foster care?
Medical foster care, which started in Florida in 1980 as a pilot program, was specifically designed for children who needed to come into the system but had some kind of complex medical problem. And it was a pilot program, and when we started in 1980, we are actually the only program that survived the pilot long term, but now obviously there are medical foster care programs in every district in the state of Florida.
Okay, fantastic. What are some of the typical medical challenges that you guys face with the children that come into that program?
When we first started, it was very different in that most of our placements were voluntary, and children needed to come in with a medical problem that could be resolved within 90 days. That has long ago changed. Now every child coming in is in the custody of the state, and their problems range from premature babies who have significant issues as a result of prematurity, and they're often on a variety of different medical apparatus in order to take care of them. We have lots right now of babies that are born drug exposed and are withdrawing from drugs. Then we get the chronic problems. We do have some children that have cancer. We have the injuries, shaken baby, fractures, burns. And then we have lots of chronic illness. So we get a fair number of children with diabetes, with cardiac issues, with respiratory issues. So just about anything that would be a chronic problem.
I see. Now, Maureen, just so our viewers know, what's your role with the Medical Foster Care Program?
I am the director.
Okay.
I am a registered nurse, but I am the director of the program here for Pinellas and Pasco.
Okay, great. And Laura is one of your star exceptional foster parents,
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. Well, that's good to know. So when you started saying that originally they were to be out in 90 days, do you frequently see the children that come into the program, they're able to resolve the medical issue and then they're able to move out of the medical program into traditional, or do they typically stay in a medical home?
When we first started, we were so small, the children did indeed move on to a traditional foster home. Now, we encourage our foster parents to have the children stay until there's permanency.
Okay, that's great. That's great for them. Right. Less moves, less
Absolutely.
trauma and disruption. So
Absolutely.
I think that's fantastic. So Laura, why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about your experience as a medical foster parent?
It's an amazing thing to be a part of, in that we typically have the heads up on when a child is coming to be with us. We're able to go to the hospital, meet the children in an environment that's not considered our own versus their own. We sometimes get an opportunity to meet the parents if they've had an opportunity to stay at the hospital with their child, depending on what the circumstances are. And then we are given every tool possible to help these children grow medically, emotionally, and then, of course, towards their goals of permanency, whatever that may be.
Okay, so that brings up a good point, tools, because I would understand that you would need some additional training. I don't know that I would feel equipped to handle many of those medical situations that you described. So can you tell the foster parents out there, if they had any interest or just wanted to know more about it, like what kind of training do they get to be able to, you know, learn how to deal with the medical challenges?
Initially, when somebody wants to become a foster parent, even if they know they want to do medical right from the beginning, they have to go through all the training that a traditional foster parent would. So they go through the positive parenting training, now what we've replaced MAP with, and they go through the licensing procedure. Then they would go through an additional 1 week of a Monday through Friday, all day, of training specifically to be a medical foster parent. And that training is an overview. There's a lot of medical in there, but it's not specifically how to treat particular diseases or medical problems. That training happens when a child is matched with a foster parent. And then that specific child training is done until the foster parent is totally comfortable with whatever the procedures are that need to be carried out in the medical foster home.
That makes a lot of sense, because I can't imagine it would take years to train people on every possible condition. And by the time you got a child that had that, you would have forgotten everything anyway,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
Or something would have changed to the point where there was new technology and new things,
new treatment
to benefit the
procedures.
child.
And that does happen. The technology is, I mean, just in my tenure here has been enormous.
I know. I just can't believe, just even in children's, babies' paraphernalia in general, how much it's changed over the years. All of a sudden they have all these things. I didn't have one of those when my child was little. So
I've said that a million
it's
times.
constantly, you know, evolving and improving and new techniques and everything. So, well, you know, Laura, you brought up an interesting comment a few minutes ago, which I really wanted to dig deeper into for our foster parent audience, and that is the relationship with the biological families. And I understand that the medical program, just due to the nature of how you do what you do, that you've had to have that culture just ingrained right from the get-go of working together, the foster parents working together with the biological family. So could you kind of explain that culture and how you guys work with the biological families?
I think my philosophy from day one has always been that parents don't wake up one day and say, you know, like, I'm going to neglect my child, or I'm not going to provide the right care. That, you know, this is something that happens. It's what people have grown up with, what they know. So I believe in the clean slate, that every parent coming in whose child is in medical foster care, we start with a clean slate, and we say it doesn't really, you know, affect how we're going to work with you, whatever happened in the past. So starting with that, I mean, to me, the respect of that parent is paramount. The communication with that parent is absolutely paramount. And then working together for the benefit of the child. The child is what we really need to focus on. And so it's not about the foster parent, and it's not about the biological parent. It's about the child. And so that's where we're coming from. And we convey that. We start out with a lot of documentation that we give. We have a new parent packet for the biological families. And one of the things in there are the rights and responsibilities. So of the foster parent and the biological parent. And we have expectations. You're going to give us all the information that we need to take care of your child, and you're going to come to the medical appointments, you're going to come to all the visitations, you're going to partake of the training. That's what we expect of the parents. And in return, we're going to take the very best care. We're going to provide as many services as that parent needs in order to get to the place where the child can be reunified.
Very good. The reality is that none of us are perfect parents. Whether we're foster parents, medical foster parents, biological parents, it doesn't matter. And so I think the one big area that medical foster makes sure all of our parents understand is we want to treat one another with the respect that we would want to be given. And so I think that's the most important thing for all of us to remember. Treat other people the way you want to be treated. If someone were taking care of my child because I was having an issue or whatever it was that I needed help with, you want to be treated with respect. And we definitely have an atmosphere of respect in medical foster.
That's fantastic. What has some of your biggest challenges been in working together with the biological parents, or maybe even their extended family?
I think one of the biggest challenges with co-parenting is when a parent thinks that they know everything about their child. And we're all always changing, including children, and as such you have to learn to roll with things a little bit, and sometimes parents don't want to do that their way or the highway, and that can be a challenge.
So how do you communicate, like, initially? So when you first get the child into your home, and then you've got to kind of communicate how we're going to work together, kind of like your rules of engagement and boundaries and all that. What do you normally do? Do you have a meeting? Do you sit down? Do you call them? How do you guys kind of get that started?
Usually the court will have visitation in place. For example, supervised visitation 1 hour every week. So at that first meeting, I give my telephone number to whatever parents, whatever grandparents, whoever is there, and they're welcome to call me anytime they want. I, in return, ask for their phone number so that I can keep them aware of any and all doctor's appointments. When a visit is to happen, we ask for a 24-hour advance notice just to say, yes, we're going to be there, or no, something's come up. And, it's just how you would treat anyone, how you would treat a friend. Call me and let me know what's going on. Mm-hmm. And that's how we have found things to work in a positive manner.
That's great.
We do start our visits in the office. Usually, we have a very large, nice, we actually have 2 visit rooms, but one for a little bit older children, toddlers. It's large and lots of toys. But some of the things that we do is every visit we take photographs of the children with their parents. We make 2 copies so that the parent gets to keep one and the child gets to keep one, so that they can hold on to that until the next visit. So that's very helpful. We give our parents calendars so that if they're not used to writing down all the appointments, that they can, and if they need help with that, we work with that. In addition to, Laura mentioned that she calls people to keep them updated about the appointments. We also send postcards to the parents about every appointment so that they don't miss a doctor's appointment, so that we have the directions on how to get to each office.
I love that idea. I love the calendar idea, because in my own personal foster parenting experience, a lot of times they've come to a visit on a bus, or, they're kind of rushing to get here and get there and juggle jobs and all of this. And it is hard to remember and keep your schedules, especially when you have a lot of flex shifts and we're trying to meet after hours or, different locations. So I think that's a fantastic idea, that that anybody could do, and just, give them something.
I mean, you can buy the small calendars.
Right.
We've had some companies that have just donated us
That's fantastic.
100 calendars.
And even sitting in one visit, you could say, hey, pull out your calendar, let's go ahead and write down
schedule.
our next visit.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's the littlest things, to go, the aha. That's a great idea.
And often when we settle on a day and a time that works for both the foster parent and the bio parent, we go ahead and stay with that. So it's every Tuesday and Thursday from 2 to 3 or 2 to 4 or whatever it is we're working with.
No, I think that's great. If you can develop the consistency,
Absolutely.
It helps. And
because then they don't forget.
It helps the child too, because it's easier for them to what they become accustomed to, they look forward to. It makes it a lot easier than those uncertainties of, am I going to get a visit? Am I going to get to see mommy? I think that's sometimes when we see more of those behaviors coming out, when they don't have consistent visits and know what to expect. Well, that's fantastic. So tell us a little bit about how you've seen, this role, not only in when I say co-parenting, but almost even in that mentorship role, because you really got to come alongside, and even through some of those subtle things, you're really sort of training the parents.
We actually call it child-specific training. In medical foster, anytime you meet with the parent and you do any type of medical, any type of training really, whether it's, some parents have to be taught just to sing to their child. So it's the little things that you just do in their presence.
No, well, actually, you're becoming like, it's like you're modeling the parenting for them. So without necessarily coming out, because sometimes, when we're trying to, we know we're supposed to mentor them, but it's a delicate line in mentoring without coming out like, well, you need to, and they think, oh, they're not going to tell me. You know what I'm saying? But when you start to model it, like, you're singing with the child, or you're reading, or it's those subtle things, oh, she really likes it when I do this,
Yes.
and then actually teaching them in that way through modeling those behaviors.
We've always said our foster parents are the best role models.
That's awesome. So what have you seen, like, as far as outcomes from some of these things? Share some of your successes and the real things that make you want to keep doing what you're doing.
I am still friends with the mom of my very first placement. I was invited to the birth of her second child, and she's doing fantastic. And her son is growing and thriving, and it's a wonderful thing to be a part of.
I've been doing this for 35 years. And to me, the best thing is when those families continue to come back to say, look at my child now. Look what they've accomplished now. And of course, I've been there so long that we have now seen the children are now married and have children of their own, and they're bringing the children back for us to see. So it's really exciting.
That is exciting if you think about it. 35 years.
35 years.
Let me see. If you were a baby 35 years ago, but no, that is, and that what a sense of accomplishment. And they realize the part you played in their life, and so that's very exciting. What would you, if you could share anything with foster parents out there, especially maybe, some of our foster parents that would be watching are newer foster parents, what tips would you give them in really just creating that relationship to work together, of course, for the best interests of the child, and dealing maybe with some of the little challenges that obviously you've both dealt with, in that role?
I think probably one of the most important things is to remember that that's the mother and father or the family of the child. You're not it. It can't be about you. It has to be about the child and their attachment to their own parents. Now, maybe in the long run it won't work out, because obviously we have lots of cases where the child is not reunified and ends up in some other kind of permanent situation. But it has to be about the child. And so, just remembering that, that the parent is the parent, always referring to the mother and father as mommy and daddy. even if the child calls you mommy or your husband daddy. It's really important to focus on the fact, if we're ever going to make a parent be able to turn around and be successful in being reunified with their child, we need to stay focused on that.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes, whether it's our desire for reunification or not, that's irrelevant. And if we want to stay in that child's life, you have to have a good relationship with the parents. Mm-hmm. So, and who wins in that situation? The child.
Absolutely.
And that's what it's all about.
It's always been kind of my motto. A child can never have too many people love them. Can we?
No.
You know?
Can any of us?
Exactly.
Can any of us, really?
Exactly. So, well, that's wonderful. Well, I thank you both so much for sharing this information, and I'm excited that that our viewers have been able to hear about the medical foster care program, and also how well you guys have been able to really just take this this co-parenting relationship to that level that we all would like to get to. And so thank you so much. Well, just a few parting comments for our viewers out there. Thank you so much for joining us. And we're always looking for your suggestions, your comments, and topics and things that you'd like us to provide training or web shows on. So please send us an email at qpiflorida@usf.edu, or you can always look us up on our Facebook page, which is under Just in Time Training, and post your comments and suggestions there. Thanks again for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon next time on the Just in Time Web Show.